So listen to the sound right when it starts up and as I slowly start driving away right away. Aaron here, welcome back to Help Me DIY. Thanks for watching, guys. I have a really cool video, especially for you Boxster fans out there. I just want to remind you that some of my Diamond Donor sponsors over here have some deals going on for you right now. Rio Toro, if you use code HelpMeDIY, you're going to save 25% off your order. Windshield Wow, use code DIY15, you're going to save 15% off that product. Fantastic products. But what brings me here today is my Boxster. Some of you have pointed out to me that my Boxster on startup has a little rattle. So I've been doing a lot of research and I think the problem is the chain tensioners. So today I want to talk to you about what I've learned about chain tensioners during my research, and in a video coming up after this one, I'm actually going to replace the chain tensioners. So there will be a cool little detailed DIY video on that. All right, I'm back in the office doing some research and I've come across a few diagrams I want to share with you guys. So here's the first one. This is a good overall diagram of my 5-chain engine. You can count the chains. There are 5 of them. So this is 2, 1 here and 1 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we're looking at here is this top one is the crankshaft. This bottom one is the intermediate shaft, the dirty word in the Porsche Boxster community. And right here you can see that this part labeled number 2 is a tension rail, they call it. So this is getting pressed up onto the chain and the one on top is getting pressed down, and that is what creates the tension in the chain, so it's not just loose and flapping around. Now there are 2 more on this side, and there are also 2 around the chain that goes around the intermediate shaft. Now the way that the tension is applied to these rails are called chain tensioners, and there are 3 of them here. Number 1 here, and number 1 here. So in 3 different locations, tension is applied to that guide. They're often called chain tension guides, and that is what keeps the tension in the chains. So the point of my video today is one of the things that can happen to your engine that is bad if these chain tensioners stop doing their job and they're not applying pressure here. This starts to slacken, and that was the rattle you heard in my car because the chain is not tight and it starts smacking around on these rails. Now, these rails on the inside, they have a brown plastic. So if you've seen one of my oil change videos on this car, you saw bits of brown plastic. And if you've changed your oil and you've seen that, that is part of your chain guide, this rail right here that the chain rides across. And I believe what is causing that in my car is these chain tensioners fail. So they are filled with oil and hydraulic, and they get expand out and press up against this rail to apply that tension. So here is a new chain tensioner. All 3 of the chain tensioners are unique, but this is a brand new one. And if I try to press, I can get a little bit of action, but it is super hard to compress. You'll see that there are some little holes in here and down here. And what happens is these are sitting in your oil and they are filled with oil. And that is one of the things that helps keep them taut against the rail. So from my understanding, all 3 of these are different part numbers. And the one we're looking at is the one that I ordered right here. And you're gonna need a couple of these. They call them ring washers. They're kind of like crush washers on your drain plug. And here is the other one. So this one that I have here is actually the one that goes down here on the bottom. And so from what I've heard, one of the reasons they can fail or that it rattles at startup but then goes away eventually is because these holes that have the oil in them, once your car is running, the oil is getting pressed into here, and it presses this up against the chain guide and starts supplying enough tension. But if your car has been sitting there not being run for several days, like is in the case for me, all of the oil drains out of this thing. So right when you're starting it, it does not have the proper tension. So supposedly by replacing these things with a new one that is nice and firm, we're going to get rid of that problem. Because if you let that problem go, your chain guides are going to get all smashed up, and the longer that happens, the worse it's going to get. Eventually, if there's not enough pressure, it's going to skip a tooth on one of these drive wheels, and your timing is going to get screwed up, and your engine is going to go kaboom. So you probably noticed that I only bought 2 of these. I bought this one and this one. There are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is these 2 are the easiest to reach on the engine. The third one up here is under your AC compressor, I think they say, and is really hard to get to and remove. But the second reason is they say that this one is the one that fails the least. If you're having issues, it is usually one of those 2. So I'm going to replace the easy ones first and see what happens. So one thing I did wrong when I ordered my chain tensioners is I did not take into account these little green caps. So I'm going to need to order at least 2 of those. So if you're going to do this job, plan ahead and order those when you get your chain tensioners. So this is what those cylinder head plugs look like. I will put the part number and some links in the description of the video for you to order them. You can see if you get the Porsche genuine part, it's super expensive, but they have some original equipment manufactured parts for about $5. Okay, here's another diagram from the Porsche technical manual. You can see that it is a very similar diagram, just shown differently from the side. Here is that bottom one, number 1. And it shows that it comes with an O-ring, and you're gonna need that other washer. So there's that one, and then over here we have number 18 is the one on top that we are not going to be replacing. And we can see that it calls number 1 the chain tensioner on cylinder bank 1 through 3, and it tells us that it is 59 foot-pound torque to replace it, and we'll need a wrench size 32 millimeters. This diagram shows some special tools. I bought a kit that is supposed to be able to lock the cams and the crank, but here is the official Porsche information if you want that. This diagram here shows the first thing that we're gonna do is by locking the crank into top dead center. So you can see that there is a little notch in this that we're gonna line up with that little indicator here, and this shows the tool being inserted into this space. You can't see it in this diagram, but it's a little teardrop shape. That's the one where you stick the pin all the way through, or I think you can use a 5/8 inch drill bit. So one of the biggest questions I still have is, do you have to lock the cams in order to remove the tensioners? People seem to say that they would, but I haven't heard anybody say for sure that yes, you have to, or something bad will happen. So if you happen to know for sure one way or the other, please leave a comment down below and let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna probably lock them when I do this just in case, but if you don't have to, that would be really cool to let other people know. So I'm gonna be tackling this project really soon, so if you have any other tips or advice for me, please immediately post them in the comments below. Appreciate it, guys. So hopefully this information has been helpful, but actually seeing how to do it is the best. So that video will be coming out later. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and you will be notified when this is ready. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.